Kristen, I know one of the things that you say to those that you work with is, I dare you to live your courageous destiny. And DARE is an acronym: design, align action, refine, expand.
Yes.
Of course, it all starts with design. And that's what we're focusing in on in this conversation. You let others know that they can design a business and life they love. How did you come to believe that, Kristen?
I'm so honored, first of all, to be on your podcast.
I'm so glad you're here.
And, 10 years ago, I hired my first coach,
Okay.
and I really worked through raising my self-worth. And I worked through realizing that there's so many things in my mind that were limiting me from living the life that I wanted to live. My triplets were 5 years old at the time. They, that was my life, taking that, working full time in corporate America, taking them, to daycare. And then maybe you'd have an hour,
Mhm.
where I'd actually be able to spend time with them. And it was so wearing on me. It was just constant movement. And I didn't even know who I was anymore.
Mhm. Yep.
And my health and had taken a big downward spiral as well. And so when I hired my first coach, in the first 3 months that I worked with them, it had really shown me that I could recreate and design my mindset. And by doing that, I would get way different results.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized the only reason why I didn't think I'd be able to have an amazing life, or not that I didn't think I'd be able to have an amazing life, but I wouldn't be able to spend time with my kids, was because I had all these have tos that I had to do. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I had to, I had to work and have stability and all of those kinds of things. And there was no other options for me,
Yes.
even though I was brilliant at my trade and what I did. So that to me was how I got started. It was realizing that I had all these limits in my mind, and by relieving myself of those limits, that I would be able to design a business and life I love. And
Yeah.
when I had tripled my sales and I had lost my first 30 pounds in the first 3 months, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to help people do this, and I'm
Oh,
going to start designing my own life.
I love it, Kristen. So
Yeah,
you believe it because you lived it. And
absolutely.
I also love that you went to beliefs.
Hmm.
Um, we all might know the phrase, it's from Peter Drucker, that culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Yes.
I'm trying to make famous the quote, belief eats behavior for
Yes.
breakfast, right?
Yes.
Right? Because if we have the belief that there's all these have tos in our life, or we have the belief that I only get 1 hour to spend with my children, right? Then we're not going to take behaviors that could lead to results like a life and work that we love if we don't think it's possible. So change really starts at that belief level.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had no idea that there would be a world where I could write my own schedule, that I wouldn't
Mm,
work for somebody else, that I wouldn't be fighting just to get more vacation time through seniority at a company. I
yes.
had no idea that that could happen. And so when I started seeing the limits that I had in my body, right, and in my health and wellness, I
Hmm.
started realizing, like, what else, other limits have I put on myself that have kept me from taking action?
Love that inquiry.
And what kind of example, another question that I was really coached to ask myself was, what kind of example do I want to be for my kids? And what kind of life do I want my kids to have? And it was with that in mind, I started to really think that if I were just to get my beliefs in alignment with the things that I actually really wanted, then I would start taking different actions and my behaviors would follow.
Yep.
and I would get way different results. And I could have that life and the business that I wanted.
Yeah.
No area left behind, I like to say. No area of life left behind.
All right,
Mhm.
Kristen, I know we are going to get into how do we do this? How do we
Yes.
design a life and a business that we love? First, I want to let listeners know a little bit more about you. Kristen Crockett's story began in corporate sales, she's already shared with us, where she became one of the top level female sales executives, earning a very nice six-figure paycheck. She loved selling products and services that she believed in 100%. Then one day, like many women in corporate, everything changed when she became a mother. And of course, Kristen's already shared not to just one baby, but she was blessed with triplet babies. Then, after being told she would not be able to take her daughter to the doctor because she was out of personal time, Kristen hired her first coach to work on her health and wealth. After experiencing courageous results, 85-pound weight loss and tripling her sales, she decided to begin her courageous destiny and become a coach and consultant herself to help others achieve success, flexibility, and fulfillment. So, Kristen is the founder and visionary of Courageous Destiny and the founder of the Courageous Destiny podcast. Her mission is to help over 10,000 women to discover their courageous self and purpose in life and increase wealth and health through her program, Courageous Destiny. Build a business and life you love. Thank you, Kristen, for being here to share some of your experience and expertise with us all.
My honor. I'm so excited. I
So,
love it. I love this conversation.
yes, me too. Me too. So, we know it starts with belief, right? So, if
Mhm.
we are interested in designing a life and a business that we love, how do we do that, Kristen?
Well, I really believe that the first step, and I ask this at my events many times, is how many people out there know what they want?
Hmm.
And everybody, there's always these buts in the way. Well, I'd love to have $1 million, but I can't, or I would love to, you know, climb Mount Kilimanjaro, but I don't have the time. So to be able to realize all of the obstacles that we put in the way of what we want
Yes.
and to start to you have to be able to have some kind of a target when you're building a courageous destiny, to be able to identify what you want and then to realize how many obstacles get in our way and how to move them aside.
Okay.
So I love to give people a magic wand, and I'm like, I don't want to hear.
Ooh. Any
Right.
butts?
Right. There, if you find a but, we need to get rid of the but so we
Okay.
can actually define what you want. And
Mm.
so that's the first step.
Yes, yes. So do you find, Kristen, that it takes some people a while to get there? I feel like some people's wanters have been shut down, like our ability to really want, like a 2-year-old would want, right? We've been conditioned as adults that there's these boundaries, but it has to be within this, but you have to make money, but.
Yeah, wanters are shut down for sure. And we stop learning. It's like somewhere along the way when we become adults, we take our imagination and visualizing what kind of amazing results we could have in our life and what we want for our life. There's just so many things that get in the way, and so we don't even allow ourselves to dream anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
And when we don't allow ourselves to dream, we're never going to get there because we're never even admitting what we really want. And then we walk around frustrated and angry and disappointed in our lives because we're
Isn't it
living this life we
interesting?
don't want.
Right? Like I can't let myself want that because what if I don't get it? Well, we're
Right.
deep down, we want it somewhere.
Yeah. The shoe's going to drop. The other shoe's going to drop. So why bother? I get that so much.
Hmm.
And so I love to give people permission. Even people who are listening to this podcast, I
Yes.
want to give you permission right now to identify one thing that you want in your life. Because by having that truth and saying, I want that one thing, guess what? it is so much more likely to come into fruition. But
Lovely.
if you don't even admit it to yourself, if you don't allow yourself to dream anymore, you just kind of settle for everything.
That's a call to action, listeners.
Right.
Kristen is giving you
Right.
permission to write
Mhm.
down one thing that you want.
It's when they start to identify what they want,
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, well, what actions create what you want? Well, and then when you start understanding, and that's where that align action step comes in, right? When you start
Mhm.
really understanding what you want, now you start thinking about the actions, and some of those actions are going to be available to you and some of them aren't.
Okay. Yep.
And those ones where those actions aren't available is where the limiting beliefs come into play.
Oh,
Those are the beliefs that stop you.
okay. So you would say
So,
if we don't see an action, if we don't see a way forward with it, there's a limiting belief that's coming in there.
correct,
Gotcha.
correct.
Yep.
So, I'm going to use sales as an example
Yeah.
because a lot of people are stopped in sales actions. In order to promote our business or our products or services, we need to be able to share that openly with people and make connection with people.
Mm-hmm.
But how many times do I coach somebody where they're like, well, I can't call them. I don't want to be a bother. Or it's not the right time to contact that person. Or, it would be rude for me to just share this product or service with them. I haven't built a relationship first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I always say if you believe 100% in the products or service that you sell, you're going to be stingy if you're not sharing it. Right? Like, this is valuable to them. Let them know.
It comes back to beliefs again, Kristen, right? If we
Right.
believe 100% that this is a valuable service or product that we have, like why
Mhm.
wouldn't you tell people about that?
Exactly. Exactly. So part of my dare process in the design phase is to get them to design and really build on purpose their belief system
Oh,
so that it aligns with what they want. So first you have to know what you want, and then you need to design what your thought process is and what your belief system is going to be around that. Because if you start thinking about what you want and you train yourself to start thinking about what you want, you put in your calendar, I mean, you start thinking about what you want, you'll start taking action. It'll just be like annoying, like, I gotta do this. I gotta do this. I gotta do this.
now it's here. I got to take this action. Yes.
Yes.
Can you say a little bit more to bring for to life for listeners what the belief system is? I mean, I'm assuming it's acknowledging the things that we want. What else is in a belief system?
It's being able to observe and read your own mind to know what's not moving you forward toward that thing that you want
Yeah.
and then rewriting it.
Okay. So I don't want to be rude. I'm not ready to call that person now. We shift that to, I've got a valuable product to share with this individual. I've
Exactly.
got, okay.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's expanding your awareness to know, what moves you forward toward what you
Mhm.
want and what's moving you the opposite direction. So you've got that discernment. You grow that power of discernment.
Mhm.
And it's hard to do, I call it courageous destiny because, we are so ingrained in oh, we know it all, right? We've been on this earth so many years and, we
Mhm.
know what works and we know what doesn't work. And frame of that whole, I know what I'm doing. I know all the answers. Like that whole attitude keeps us stuck and allows, has us stop learning.
Yeah. And exploring.
And so it's courageous to kind of go to the most stubborn person which is yourself, and redesign your belief system and your thought system.
Yeah. Yeah, it does take courage to be honest
Mhm.
with ourselves, right? And to do the work and to dig in. I mean, some of us would rather not deal with it, right? But where do I have empowering beliefs and thoughts? And where do I have those limiting beliefs and thoughts that you're
Mhm.
talking about, Kristen?
Yeah, and I love to coach people on how when they find a limiting belief or thought, that they can embrace it. Like you're a human being.
Yeah.
But if it's limiting you and if it's stopping you from designing your courageous destiny, then is there a way or a strategy that we can create to work around it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's so important to be able to observe the mind, to know what's moving you forward, to know what's moving you away,
Mm-hmm.
and then to be able to redesign and to be able to come and accept that you have these limiting thoughts and beliefs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's an acceptance, so I have these journeys called courageous destiny success journeys.
Yes.
And I'm up to about 50 of them now.
Oh, wow, Kristen.
I know, like they keep coming, they keep coming. But in it's the journey of being able to accept what our mind is saying without judging it harshly
Yes. That
and not
seems
beating
so
yourself up for it.
that seems so critical what you're saying right there, Kristen, because when we notice a limiting belief, it's an opportunity, not a reason to like get out the big club and like beat ourselves up. But instead, once we're aware of it, then it doesn't have to like unknowingly drive the show anymore. Then we can say, okay, I see you, limiting belief. I'm going to
Yeah.
shift that. I don't need to believe that any longer.
Yeah. And when I acknowledge I have the belief, I'm shining a light on it. And then it doesn't hold the same kind of power. It starts to dissipate almost immediately as soon as I accept it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If one of it's interesting, but a rare, very, very common limiting belief that people have is I'm lazy.
Mm.
I'm too lazy to do that thing. I'm too lazy to do that thing. But if they look around their life, I had this one too. And I remember my coach saying to me, he's like, Kristen, you're a mom of triplets, and I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm not really that lazy.
I guess I'm not laying around all day. Yeah.
Yeah. If I wanted to create and design my body and my health the way I wanted to, I was going to stop letting I'm lazy stop me from going and doing my exercising.
Yeah.
So I think because once I shined a light on it, I'm like, what do I think? I'm lazy? No, I'm not lazy. I'm going to go do it.
Ah, yes. I'm also seeing that like maybe we have a limiting belief in one area of our life.
Yes.
Right. So if I'm not exercising as much as I'd like to, or I think I want to, then I can think, oh, I'm lazy, I'm lazy. But if we look to other areas of our life and we see I'm raising triplets, right? Or I'm doing this other thing, or like look at what I do inside of my corporate role. I'm not
Hmm.
I'm not lazy. Look at other areas
Exactly.
of life for different evidence.
And a part of the design phase, a very important part of the design phase, as far as courageous destiny goes, because I say build a business and life you love. But it's if you look out at your life, what is that one area that if you had completely different results in that area, it would make everything easier?
Mm.
Because if you don't address that area, and we just brush it under the rug, but you want to build your business. So many people come to me and like, I want to build my business. I've got to get my business, to a certain level, or I'm not going to have enough money to live on my own with my kids. Well, what else is going on? Well, I'm getting a divorce
Mm.
and my heart is breaking. And there's all this other stuff going on. And so if we don't address any of that and we only work on business, I need to give tools that are going to effectively work for multiple areas of life so that they can live their courageous destiny and their whole life can start to elevate.
So I'm hearing take a holistic look, and I'm also hearing focus on the aspect or the thing that you want in life. That would be like sometimes I get the linchpin, right? That would rise all rise all
Right.
boats, rise all tides, whatever that saying is, yeah, that would just make everything easier.
Yeah, and I love to look at it like there's always that one area of life that's like a bucket of cement and your legs in it. So now, if that bucket of life or that bucket of cement has your leg in it, and you're going and you're trying to create different results or an amazing result in your life, you're gonna be dragging that puppy around with you until you deal with it.
Yeah.
We got to get your leg out of that cement. So
Yes.
whatever area of life that keeps your leg in there, we want to work on that. We don't
Yes.
want to just let it fester, so to speak.
Yes. So, in case we haven't convinced a listener to do some belief work, can you
Yes.
share with us some examples from your life or your client's life? Like, what kinds of shifts are possible?
Oh gosh, yes. I had a client who wanted to sell her business, and there was so much of other people's opinions that got in her way, and
Mm,
she was just taking on so many other people's opinions. It's like she didn't give herself the credit that she was amazing and that she could do this, and that she didn't necessarily need everybody else's opinion.
mm.
And when she really stepped into her power, she was able to sell her business to 7 times her original offer.
I
So
love to
that
know
was
where
a
she
really
was
good
getting bogged
one.
down. That's a great
I've
example.
coached several women to lose over 100 pounds and create a business. Um, one woman came to me wanting to create a business and ended up finding the love of her life
Mm,
and creating a business,
mm.
over 65 in organizations. So she became a closet organizer, which I was
Okay.
so proud of her becoming an entrepreneur
Yep.
because she loved it.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I love to have people do is take a look at your life and what do you really love to? What gives you that all around yes, that full body yes when you're doing those things?
Hmm.
And those are the things that come naturally to you that you really love to do. Well, let's build a business around that. And that's really exciting.
Yeah. Your unique
Or
strength.
if I'm already
Mhm.
in a business, let me rework my belief process so I can fall back in love with what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to ask you, Kristen, specifically, like we might have some listeners that are team leaders in an organization, and maybe they like most aspects of their work, but maybe there's some things that are not ideal, right? So they might not necessarily want to go and start their own business. What would you recommend for them in terms of designing something that they're going to love?
Well, I think that there is different ways to enroll leadership and to offload some of those things they really don't love to do,
Mhm.
and to be able to streamline and be able to if you're working on your core genius, you're going to be doing amazing, amazing things for your company.
Mhm.
So if you can work on, if you just see it as a possibility that you don't have to accept those things that keep weighing you down, and you can accept it as a possibility, well, maybe it could be different. I coached a woman to, she didn't think that she would be able to live in Florida, and the brick and mortar was in Illinois.
Mm.
And I said, well, have you ever tried to ask? Have you ever tried to set a goal and say, hey, if I achieve this goal and I'm able to truly show my worth, would it be, possible for me to move across country?
Mhm.
And she achieved those things and she moved across country. So there's different ways and possibilities to reinvent in corporate.
Well, and I'm hearing that there's a big pace that goes back to beliefs, right?
Yeah.
Accepting that there is a possibility instead of feeling stuck in the circumstances, can you get yourself into more of an exploratory mindset? There might be a way to do this. Could I try this? Could I try that?
Well, and that we're worth it. We're worth designing whatever it is we're doing 100%. We don't have to be at the impact of everybody else's decisions.
Yeah.
We can design, our role at any company that we're in, and to realize that we're incredibly valuable in the company.
Yeah.
Like we're incredibly valuable, to know our value so much that we are in a position that is a right fit for us.
Yeah. So
And if it's
important.
not, let's recreate it so that it is.
Yeah. Know your value. Kristen and
Yes.
I often call that a leadership legacy, right? This where our
Yes.
strengths and passions uh, overlap, right? And this unique gift that we can give the world. I'll share a link in the show notes to leadership legacy and some support in determining your leadership legacy. Because when we know that, right, we know you called it a zone of genius, right? We know our zone of
Yes.
genius, and anything that's outside of our zone of genius, how can we look at some of the things you already mentioned, Kristen? Streamlining. Are there others that can be leveraged? Do we have to do it to the same scope or frequency that we do today, right? Like, how do we step back from what doesn't energize us and doesn't have us providing the best value that we could?
Exactly. And it takes courage to build our worth and our value enough that we break out of the I have to's in corporate, right? In that, like I have to do things a certain way and nobody will listen to me if and the more we break out of that, the more we can really offer to a company, the
Yes.
more we can really stand in our power and truly make a difference and an impact. And I think it's anywhere in life too, like
Yeah.
to really step into our worth and in our value as much as possible.
Yes.
We're going to be bringing that much more impact to the world doing that.
Yes. I'm seeing some parallels in how both you and I talk about courage. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm here with courageous destiny. It's getting so clear about your desire, what you want, that the, that there's momentum created with the courage. You're just going for it. You've gotten so clear that this is what you're committed to creating in your life, that you start continue
Yes.
taking courageous action towards it.
I thought about what I wanted so much that I left, I wanted to be a coach and I wanted to be a consultant. So I left to become a coach and consultant, help others really understand how incredibly valuable they are. And when they saw it, they would really start to do that design for their life, take the time to purposefully and consciously design and create the life that they love.
Yes.
So that was really, I've done that in so many different areas of my life. I wanted to create myself as this coach and consultant, so I did make that leap from corporate America.
Mm-hmm.
I did, you know, there's so many things that I did to make sure that I could keep doing this over the years. And so many times I'm like, well, I didn't quit.
Mm-hmm.
I've been through divorce. I've been through, just all the different situations with the kids and, to be able to be there for them, as their mom and truly be able to guide them through these teenage years now has just been such a huge blessing.
It's your leadership legacy is
Yeah.
supporting others, giving them the tools, the
Yeah.
guidance, the example that they need to reach their courageous destiny. Right. And I'll say, like, once someone
Yes.
gets so clear about what their leadership legacy is and the value and the purpose that they bring as a leader to every project, relationship, interaction, then we're called forth to fulfill that. And of course, it takes courage again and again.
It takes courage and then momentum and action, right? Because
Yeah.
once you think about it and you're so clear, then you know what actions to take.
Yeah.
So many people get stuck on how do I do this? How do I do that? I'm like, well, we don't know yet. But you got to, if you get clearer and clearer about what you want and what you're courageous destiny or your legacy leadership as it sounds is, you're going to then be able to consciously take a look and go, well, what are other people who do that? What steps do they take? What actions do they take?
Mhm.
And then now you can start creating momentum.
Yes.
You can start creating momentum and building it one brick at a time.
Kristen, I'm inspired. You have shared so much great stuff with us today. Listeners, giving you all permission to want. What do you want?
Yes.
Write down one thing that you want, and then what actions do you start to see as possible? Taking those, right? And seeing what obstacles come up, right? And it will probably point you towards some limiting beliefs and begin to create your positive belief system. Look holistically, right? You might look at all areas of your life. What's the area of life where if something was shifted, if you got what you want, it would make every area of your life easier? And know that it takes acceptance and courage along the way.
Yes.
Thank you
Yes.
for all of this great insight and examples of how folk, you and others have designed the business and the life that they love. Thank you for being on the Courage of a Leader
Yes.
podcast, Kristen.
Oh, thank you for having me, Amy. It's been so amazing.